In this video I thought I'd just share some information when it comes to lifting or jacking an electric vehicle, and this is a Tesla Model Y, so we will specifically look at Teslas. So with electric vehicles you have got a huge battery pack underneath, and while often this will be a metal casing, you do not want to be putting your jack on that battery pack. That could be a very, very expensive mistake. And like all modern cars, the rest of it is all covered with plastic trays, even more so on EVs because it makes them more aerodynamic. So you can't jack up on any suspension components or subframes. And this is why you must use the correct jacking points, and all vehicles will have 4 jacking points, and it's usually one about here at the rear, and as you can see here I'm using the one at the front, and it's usually marked on the sills, and it will be typically a pinch weld on the sills. But on the Tesla they have a dedicated jacking point between the sill and the battery pack, and this jacking point on a Tesla Model 3 or Model Y will be a single hole like this, and on the Model S and X, well certainly on the earlier ones, it will be a sort of a thin rectangular plate with 3 similar holes. And for Teslas you can buy these jacking pads, and these are a good idea. They're not vital, but they are a good idea. So this is the version for the Model S and X, and that will go in any one of the 3 holes, and that will push up and twist lock in place. And this is the version for the 3 and Y. They have just a single hole, and that will then push up in there. I've not actually used these yet for this car. That does feel a bit stiff, and that might actually be quite difficult to get out by the time the jack has pushed that in. But these are a good idea because they give you a nice safe flat surface to jack up on, and the jack isn't going to do any damage to the vehicle. And this is particularly important if you've got a lift or a jack that has got a metal cup end on it, because the outer edge of this could end up damaging your battery pack. It's more critical actually on the earlier Model S and X. I don't know whether it changed with the later models, but I had a 2014 Model S, and the jacking points were flush with the battery. They didn't protrude down like they now do on this Model Y. So you really did need to use the jacking pads or a block of wood. But on the Model Y, as you can see, they now protrude down a little bit more. So as long as your jacking point is flat like they are with mine, then I haven't used the jacking pad. That is correctly jacking the car up on that jacking point without touching either the battery pack on this side or the sill on that side. And stating the obvious of course, but you don't want the weight of the vehicle on the battery pack here. So using the jacking beam here, there's plenty of clearance between the top of the beam and the battery pack. And some electric cars are quite wide, particularly the Model S and X, and with the jacking points on the outer edges of the car, some lifting beams won't span that far, and that's why I bought these extra wide lifting beams, and I've done a separate video on these on the channel, which I'll link up there and in the video description below. And that is why some cases people have been told by the garage they can't lift an EV, and it could be because they're using a 4-post lift like this and therefore using a jacking beam, and simply because it doesn't span enough. But if they're using a 2-post lift, then obviously they wouldn't have that issue. And this could be an issue when it comes to MOT time, and some garages have turned some Tesla owners away because their car is simply too wide for the rolling road to do the brake test. So anyway, if you're a Tesla owner, it is well worth buying a set of these lifting pucks, even though a lot of people will say they're not needed. They're also very handy when you're on the side of the road and you've got a puncher and you might be changing your wheel out for a space saver, if you've got one of course, because they don't come as standard with a Tesla. But using a scissor jack or a little trolley jack or any sort of jack, having that puck there just gives you a better, flatter surface to lift up on, and it's not only safer, you've got less chance of it damaging your vehicle. So I hope that video helps. If it has, as always, please do click the thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, ask any questions in the comments below, and if you want to know more about the Tesla Model Y, in the video description below is a link to a playlist where you can see more videos. Okie doke, I'll see you on the next one.